Hi guys, welcome to my channel and thank you so much for clicking on my video. This particular video is going to be about an article in Newsweek that I found. It's quite an old article, but it's about Meghan Markle crying having watched Princess Diana's funeral when she was 16. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more, but before I get started, please do hit the subscribe button, the bell button so that you get notified for any new videos, and please do like and comment on this video. It would be really appreciated. It would help my channel grow. So thank you so much. So please do subscribe to my channel. You may or may not know, if you are familiar with my channel, you will know that currently I'm actually reading Andrew Morton's book on the Queen. Now, Andrew Morton, as I've explained before, is a journalist and author, and he did the Princess Diana true story book. And he's also done various other books, including Princess Meghan or Meghan, the Hollywood Princess, something like that. And he's done a book on the Queen. And I am reviewing a particular chapter, which is about Princess Diana's death and how the royal family behind closed doors reacted to Princess Diana's death. So at the moment, I'm on part 1. So please do go and check that video out. But in obviously reviewing that video, I came across this article, which is obviously quite relevant to my review of Andrew Morton's book. So this article, as you can see from the headline, says Meghan Markle cried at age 16 at Prince Harry's funeral, flowers for mummy author. So this article actually references Andrew Morton. So Meghan Markle cried watching Princess Diana's funeral as a 16-year-old, seeing Prince Harry's message for mummy, according to a famous biographer. The Duchess of Sussex watched from America with her teenage friends as Princess Diana's coffin was carried into Westminster Abbey for her funeral, according to Andrew Morton. She was moved to tears after seeing a message from Prince Harry and Prince William to mummy placed among the white floor tributes. And then it goes here to talk about Andrew Morton, and the book that he wrote about Princess Diana. So it says, in an article in the Mail on Sunday, Morton wrote, tears coursed down the cheeks of 16-year-old Meghan Markle and her friends as they watched the funeral of Princess Diana, and never more so than at the poignant moment when the camera zoomed on the royal coffin. There, perched among the white flowers, was an envelope on which was written the one word, mummy, Prince Harry's last note to the mother, who had now gone forever. To Meghan and her classmates, it was an inconceivable tragedy. How could a glamorous humanitarian in the prime of life die in the cruel banality of a car crash? Morton wrote that Meghan and friend Susie Ardekina watched old videos of Princess Diana's wedding to Prince Charles in 1981. Ardekina's mother gave the Duchess Morton's book about the future mother-in-law she would never meet. So let me just pause for a minute there. Do you remember when she said, I didn't really know anything about Harry and I don't really know anything about his family. I never really read any tabloids. I never really read any articles about this family. And all I got to know is from him. I mean, I am paraphrasing, but she was like, oh, I didn't Google him, blah, 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 blah. She knows who this man was, okay? If you are watching Princess Diana's funeral, and I've done a video on this before, so please do check some of my old videos. I've done a video on how naive really was Meghan, and I've covered some of these issues. What I said is, look, if you know Princess Diana, which so many Americans do, so she can't do the whole, oh, I'm from LA, we see celebrities, oh, I don't know much about the royal family. I'm American, we don't know much about the royal family. No, no, no. If you knew Princess Diana, which most Americans do, most people around the world know Princess Diana, then you know her story. You know that she has kids, you know who her 2 kids are, you know she's married to Prince Charles, you know what her role is, that she's the Princess of Wales, you know that she's married to the heir to the throne, you know that she's Queen Elizabeth's daughter-in-law, you know who Queen Elizabeth is, you know who the royal family is, you know her narrative about the affair in her marriage, you know about the breakdown of her marriage with Charles, you know all of this nonsense, okay, and you know about her humanitarian and charity work, you know that stuff. So don't pretend like you don't know anything. Then if you've watched her funeral, then you know that there's this little boy walking behind her coffin is her son. So then you know that his brother is William. You know that he's the spare. You know that he's lost his mum when he's young. You know that that's a traumatic thing for him. You know that he hates the press because obviously that's who killed his mum. You know, well, to him anyway, you know that sort of narrative, you know the gist of it. And really, those are the big things, aren't they? What else do you need to know? You don't need to know shoe size. That's really the crux of it. So when people say she knew who this person was, they mean he's a prince. He's a prince of England. He's Princess Diana's son. He's the Queen's grandson. He's Charles's son. He's rich as hell. He's lost his mum and therefore he has this trauma, and now she's trying to be a mother figure. She's trying to be like his mum. She knows exactly what Princess Diana was about. She's trying to be like him. These are the things that people are trying to talk about, and she's trying to elevate herself and an opportunist and trying to use the platform. This is what people assume and judge when they say she knew who Prince Harry was. You know, not this nonsense of, you know, what's his blood type, what's his favorite food, what charities does he own, blah blah blah. Like, we don't assume that that's the information that you know. So when it's like, I didn't Google him, I didn't know anything about him, like, that's not the stuff that we're worried about. We're not worried whether you know his favorite food and his favorite color. What people are saying and what people assume is that you are an opportunist and you went after this guy and you've sort of, you know, manipulated him and used his, you know, people call it the shadow self, used his insecurities. Oh, he's the spare. Oh, he lost his mum. And apparently in, well, it's not apparently because I've read it, but in Spare, he does talk about how Meghan was like, you know, you're not the spare, you're a real man. And how, you know, it was Meghan's idea to have a photo of Princess Diana when she was giving birth to Archie in the room and all this nonsense. And she goes to her grave, Princess Diana's grave, and she puts her hands, her palms on her grave and starts crying and kneeling and, you know, asking Princess Diana for guidance and all this sort of stuff. I mean, my opinion is that's very manipulative, but that's the sort of stuff people are talking about when they're like, oh, come off it, like you didn't know who this guy was, like you didn't know he was the Prince of England, like you didn't know about his mother, blah blah blah. That's what they're talking about, and it's very clear from this article, and it's also very clear from her own Tig blog, and I've done another video on this, and so please do check it out, that she wrote on her Tig blog in 2015, I believe, about Kate Middleton's wedding to Prince William in 2011. So she wrote about it in 2015, basically cussing it off, going, oh, look at this spectacle, you know, I'm paraphrasing, and I'm Princess Shira, and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, I'm the rebel princess. So, you know, that was in 2015 when she didn't even know, like, Harry was like a blink of an eye. So, you know about the pomp and circumstance, you know about the royal weddings, you know about the platform, you know about who Kate is, who William is, you know all of this stuff. So you sit there and you watched Kate's wedding, you watched Princess Diana's funeral. I'm going to go on to talk about how she's got her book allegedly, and she's also watched her wedding allegedly. So don't go on like you didn't know anything about the royal family and you didn't know, you know, the extent of the public interest or the importance of the royal family. Get over it. Okay, this is obviously quite telling that she knew exactly who they were. So it says here, however, so obviously I'll repeat that her friend's mother gave the Duchess Norten's book about Princess Diana. So Princess Diana's autobiography. And if you remember, or biography, whatever you want to say. And if you remember, in that biography, she talks about the coldness of the royal family. She talks about her mental health, her eating disorder. She talks about her suicide attempts when she was pregnant. So then we now hear from Meghan the same narrative: mental health, you know, wasn't treated great by the royal family, wanted to kill herself when she was pregnant with Archie. You know, all these same narratives come out. And in my view, you know, whether or not it's true, you know, if you want to have credibility, you would adopt the same narrative as someone who is seen as is almost sanctified by the public, right? Diana's almost a saint. So if you are adopting her same narrative, then people are going to believe what you're saying, because they're like, well, it happened to Diana. Well, it was exactly the same thing. Would have happened to Diana, right? And that sort of shuts down the argument, because it's like, well, it happened to Diana, so Meghan must be telling the truth. So, however, Diana is an even greater presence in Meghan's adult life, according to the author. He wrote, as the Sussexes embarked on their own journey together through royal life, not a day went by without a reference, a memory, or a decision that related in some way to Harry's late mother. Diana was the third wheel in their marriage. My personal view is that it's probably Meghan that brings up a lot of Diana. I'm going to wear Diana's jewelry. I'm wearing her bracelet in my Oprah interview, so she's with us. Let's have her picture in the room with Archie, so she's with us. And that video in the Netflix documentary of, oh look, it's grandma, and you've got Archie looking at this like, this it's a photograph of Diana, but it's a photograph of Diana that's like a photo shoot that's like publicized. It's a photography. It wasn't a private photo shoot. It's a photo shoot that you can find on Google. So it wasn't like an intimate private photo of your grandmother. It was like a photo shoot that you can find on the front page of a magazine. It was a really weird photo that you would choose to put up on the wall. But anyway, and Meghan's holding Archie, look, it's your grandma, or whatever she said, Grandma Diana, or whatever. And you just think, God, I think it's very manipulative, because if you keep on using that reference, then that's how you emotionally capture Harry. You associate everything with Diana. So when Harry says in Spare that he used to keep a lock of his mum's hair next to him on his bedside, and then you see that Meghan went and took some pregnancy tests in the toilet, and she places them next to Princess Diana's hair on Harry's bedside, and then whatever, they wait a little while and it shows that she's pregnant. I mean, come on. It's a way of emotionally tying him to you. Anyway, because it's showing that you're so spiritually in tune to his mother. Anyway, so Norten draws a series of comparisons between Meghan and Diana, including their experiences of coldness of palace life. Some similarities, I would agree, but I don't believe that she was necessarily treated as cold as Diana. And I think that a lot of it was probably because of her behaviour, because if you remember, there are bullying allegations against her. They weren't against Diana from members of staff. Let's get that right. So obviously, if Meghan is behaving in a certain way and people are confronting her, like Kate or William, saying, you need to stop all the Queen, saying we don't do this here, whatever it is, allegedly, then if I turn around and be like, Kate's so mean to me, William's so mean to me, William, was angry at Harry, and the Queen was mean to me, like, yeah, because you were being, abusive, allegedly, to members of staff. So I don't really just take the narrative that, oh, she was treated so badly as just, as read. I don't take it as that, because behind it, if she was behaving in a certain way and people were having to confront her and she thought that was rude, well, then there we are. So Meghan told Oprah she experienced suicidal thoughts while a working royal following a wave of negative media coverage, but was told she could not go to a mental hospital because it would make the British monarchy look bad. Now, if we take this back a bit, so negative media coverage, okay, okay, if she felt suicidal, okay, but I don't think you need to feel suicidal over negative media coverage. I think there's a lot of people in the world that have really negative media coverage, but also, she was pregnant, so you'd think she expressed those thoughts to her antenatal team, but also you would think that she wouldn't want her child to die because of the media. But there we are. That might be a bit harsh, but it is what it is. Everyone reacts differently, obviously, when their mental health is broken. But then to say she could not go to a mental hospital because it would make the British monarchy look bad. Now, I don't know who said that. And if you go back to the Oprah interview, it seemed to me that she wasn't suggesting that it was a member of the royal family. She oddly, bizarrely, went to HR, which is bizarre, because you're not an employed person of the royal family. You're not staff. So HR are there for the staff. HR don't recruit her. She's not part of a union. So I don't understand why she would go to HR. I don't understand who would give her that idea. I don't understand why she didn't go to somebody and say, what do I do? Surely she would have done that to her husband, or surely anyone else within, or even a member of her own staff and her own team, and said, this is how I'm feeling. What do I do about it? Who do I go to? Who do I speak to? Why would she go straight away to HR? Who gave her that idea? Who gave her that advice? Why would you think that that was sensible? And so then she says that HR said this, or she seemed to suggest that that's the feedback that she got back. So if it came from HR, they don't speak on behalf of the royal family. You know, they're not the PR team, they're not the publicists, they're not the private secretary. So I don't know, you know, why that was said, and if it was said, and why she took that as serious, because who the hell is speaking to HR? Why didn't she go to the Queen? Why didn't she go to Charles? So I think that it's a little bit disingenuous that she put this out there to make people assume, therefore, because people get carried away with sort of snippets, with sort of bites, right? They get carried away and they go, oh my God, the royal family said it would look bad. The royal family didn't help her. She went to the royal family. And actually, that's not true when you break down what she said, right? We're talking about HR. I've seen Lady Colin Campbell say that the reason why she went to HR was because there would be a paper trail, right? There would be proof so that she can say, look what I've got the emails, or I've got this. So that there would be an evidence, and there would be a paper trail that's probably going to come out later on, you know, if she doesn't book, or if they get divorced and she does all this tell all. So that's interesting. And if you think it's not the royal family that have done this, because Harry also says, you know, I basically hate myself, I'm angry with myself, you know, I'm paraphrasing here, because he wasn't open to his family, he didn't tell his family about this and what was happening in terms of like her mental health crisis. So therefore, any criticism of members of the royal family that Meghan was treated badly, that nobody helped her when she had this mental health crisis, is really, really, really unfair. You know, if it was some bloke in the HR department that sent us some email going, oh no man, this is going to look bad, that's really unfair, because I'm sure if it's exposed within the royal family, I'm sure that someone will have something to say to this member of HR who's making decisions for a duchess, or giving advice for a duchess, which seems to be completely outside of their job role. So that seems to be quite concerning. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. He wrote on the Mail on Sunday, Harry had always been prickly at any suggestion of criticism of his wife, and from now on, he seemed even more sensitive and quick to take offence. Obviously, because he sees it as offence on his mother. And he wants to protect his mother, he wants to protect Meghan, because he sees the same thing happening to Meghan, the same thing happened to his mom, and now he can save Meghan. You know, like he said in that Tom Bradbury South Africa interview right at the end, when he said, I'm not going to partake in the same game that killed my mother, or something like that. So he thinks it's the same thing. So at about this time, Meghan's suicidal thoughts during the first pregnancy found a dark echo in the past. Of course it did. Even though it's almost like you can't write this, isn't it? It's almost like you can't write this. You know, I could have written this. So even though she was happily married to Harry, Meghan felt a profound sense of isolation and loneliness during her first pregnancy, a feeling that was somehow trapped in an unfriendly, unfamiliar, and unforgiving new world. I don't take that. I don't believe that. And you're talking about, you know, a matter of months. She weren't even in the royal family for longer than 18 months, and some of that was maternity leave. So if you think about the time that she was pregnant, you're talking about a matter of months. And then if you talk about all the public events that she did, and all the public events with Harry, and all the royal family special events that she was at, and going abroad and seeing Serena Williams and having her baby shower, and going to Lake Como and going to see Elton John and with George Clooney in Lake Como and all this stuff, if you calculate that all across that short period of time she was at the royal family, I mean, how long did it really take her to feel trapped in an unfriendly and unfamiliar and unforgiving new world? I mean, come on now. You know, Princess Diana, okay, how long was she in the royal family? 17 years, 11 years, whatever. Okay, I get that. So when Diana went to live at Buckingham Palace shortly after her own engagement, she had felt like a captive in the groom's fairy tale. Now, this is really unfair, because she was kept in Buckingham Palace because of the press, and they wanted to protect her. And there was hardly anyone there with her. And Charles was away on some tour for like weeks upon weeks upon weeks. That is not the same as Meghan Markle in her cottage, you know, with her mum, having Oprah Winfrey round. It's not the same thing, okay? However, Norten said not all the comparisons are negative. After Meghan and Harry have kept Diana's legacy alive through charity work. Really? I am not well informed. I don't know how. I would like to know. they spend, what, an hour a week on Archwell? So I would like to know what charity work they're doing that is enhancing Diana's legacy or keeping her legacy alive. Norten wrote, Diana remains a constant inspiration to the couple in the subtlest ways. And no. It's not subtle. It's not a subtle way. And I don't think she's an inspiration to Harry. I think Harry obviously wants to make her proud, and wants to continue her work. But I think she's definitely an inspiration to Meghan. Definitely. You know, she's trying to mold herself, you know, in my view, on Princess Diana's template, as it were. He added, the comparisons with Diana were inevitable, of course. Both were and are controversial women who are agents of change in their own contrasting ways. I just think that's nonsense, because I think they're very, very different. I think they have both caused controversy, but it's very, very different, you know, completely different. And it is clear the comparisons will continue to be made for some time. Now, comparisons were made with Kate, but the good thing about Kate and William is that they have separated themselves from Diana's image. So if you remember Kate and William's engagement interview, when they were asked something like, you know, do you feel pressure? Obviously, his mother was like the most famous woman in the world, the most known woman in the world, and do you feel sort of some pressure in being compared or whatever? And, you know, she was saying, you know, Kate was like, you know, she's such a remarkable woman and I wish I had the opportunity to meet her. And then William kind of chimed in and was like, you know, there's not going to be any comparison here. There's going to be no trying to fill someone's shoes. Again, I'm paraphrasing, that she's going to pave her own way. And I think that's what they've concentrated on, is her paving her own way, despite there being comparisons even with Kate and Diana. And there's probably more comparisons because Kate is married to the heir to the throne, whereas Meghan was not. Meghan is more in Fergie's position, which is ironic because Fergie did a lot of work in America. Fergie did an Oprah interview. Fergie spilled some beans, things. Fergie does a lot for money, uses her title, has done books, you know, all that. And she's on a podcast. I mean, if anybody, you would think, you know, and very much Fergie needs to pay her bills. So if you think who's more similar, it's probably Meghan. Whereas Kate is the one who's married to the heir to the throne. She is the one who's going to be the next princess, the next queen, sorry. So really, she's more the one who you can compare with Diana because she's got a similar role and a similar duty. So the difference with that is that with Harry and Meghan, I think there's very much a encouragement of the comparison, whereas with William and Kate, they're trying to detach and separate from the comparison with Diana and say, no, she's going to make her own path. Whereas with Meghan and Harry in their engagement interview, you know, Harry was like, oh, they would have been best friends. They would have been this. She would have loved her. You know, and in the Netflix documentary and in Spear, he's like, she's so much like my mom. She has the same compassion. She has this. She's just so much like her. And you just think that's really, I think, one of the downfalls. Because there are a lot of people that love Princess Diana and do not like Meghan, and I think that they do not like that comparison, but there we are. And it also just puts so much pressure on Meghan, because then everything she does is just compared to Princess Diana. It's like, if you just have your own path and your own Meghan, then that probably would have done her far more favors. So yeah, and then you've got this nonsense in the Oprah interview. I would say I went into it naively. That's interesting, even though you read, allegedly, Princess Diana's book, because I didn't grow up knowing much about the royal family. Interesting. I wasn't part of something that was a part of a conversation at home. Well, it seemed to be a part of the conversation when you were with your friends sitting there watching her wedding. It wasn't something that I followed. Okay, but you watched Kate's wedding, you watched Princess Diana's wedding, you watched Princess Diana's funeral. My mum even said to me a couple of months ago, did Diana ever do an interview? Now I can say, yes, a very famous one, but my mum doesn't know that. That's such nonsense. Of course you knew about Princess Diana's interview. Come on now. So Meghan does look really pretty here, doesn't she? I mean, she's so thin now. She's lost so much weight. But I think she looks so pretty here. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. So please do check out my video on Andrew Norton's book, The Queen. I'm going to be uploading the second part of that video very, very soon. I've just got to finish the chapter, or at least finish the part that I'm going through. So guys, take care and subscribe to my channel. Bye guys.